Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 17th Economic Development Authority meeting. We have a rather lengthy agenda today, and we're going to try to move through it as smoothly as possible. Given that, Brian, if you'll do the roll call.
Yes, so thank you, Chair, and good morning. Mr. Barber. Here. Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Saunders Smith.
Present.
Mrs. Smith.
Here.
And Ms. Boone is absent. Chair, we have a quorum.
It's good. If everyone has read the September 19th meeting and there are no revisions or changes, I move for adoption.
Second.
You can roll, Mr. Barber.
All right.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Saunders Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Boone is absent. Chair, the item is adopted by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. As all of you know, Ms. Drury left us, which leaves the treasurer position open. If there is no interest, I would like to nominate Commissioner Smith for that position.
I second that nomination.
Saunders Smith?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
We get 2 for 1 there.
I caught me off guard. Excellent.
Good. We'll vote on
Do we need to
that.
vote on that? Yeah, we do. Okay, so we had a nomination by Mr. Mitchell and a second by
Yes.
Mrs. Smith. Or just in Saunders Smith, that's great. Okay. Mr. Barber?
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith?
Yes.
And Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 5-0. Congratulations,
Thank you.
Saunders Smith, on your appointment.
At this point, we are set to do the quarterly financial report. I think we will have to postpone that to our November meeting.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The report did go out in your package, so you did receive that. We don't have a representative, actually, we may have a representative. Nope. Well, I thought we did for a second. Okay, so we will table that, sir, till November.
Being no old business,
Yes, we have no old business. We do have some new business items for discussion. And but first, I'm very excited to bring before you, which is a presentation on what I think is an excellent opportunity to do something a little bit different outside the box here in Portsmouth, which is the opportunity for a pop-up retail shop. This is something that the economic development staff has been working on in partnership with Bloom Co-working and the Portsmouth Partnership on what we think is a really excellent opportunity to partner in making space available for budding retailers and entrepreneurs here in the city. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Wren, who's the Executive Director of the Portsmouth Partnership and also the President of Bloom Co-working, and Autumn Bailey of our team to present to you on the Made in Portsmouth pop-up shop.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I appreciate y'all having us here today, or me here, I'm usually here. So anyway, to talk about a little bit about our idea of Made in Portsmouth and pop-up retail. So Brian and I and the economic development team started talking about this months ago, just different ways to support retail in Portsmouth. As y'all know, or may not know, Bloom Co-working, we've been open since November 2020. And we've got 144 entrepreneurs in our space where we offer really economical space for entrepreneurs and then educational programs around to support this businesses really to help grow the business base and small business in Portsmouth. And so we're looking at the idea of how do we do that with retail? So we've done it really well with businesses, but there's so many retailers in Portsmouth that don't have a space as well. Really good example that comes to mind. We've got a member who owns a company, it's called Authentically Company, wonderful little business. So she has online business, she's in Wayfair, she's in 7 different retailers across the country, was working out of her home. And then when she saw the opportunity at Bloom to come in, even though it's co-working, we had a space that actually had some window on Effingham. And so she decided this was a great opportunity to try to find brick and mortar for $4.99 a month. We offer month-to-month contracts. So it made it really reasonable for her to come in. And it's been a fantastic success story for her. So a business that was already well branded in a online space really wanted the local connection. She was excited to bring her business back to Portsmouth and showcase Portsmouth as, this is a really great place where you can buy great products. And so that's where some of this ideas have come around, is if we could do that for a lot of other retailers. And as the innovation district is moving forward, how do you then help fill that retail space? And this is where the Portsmouth Made idea came from, based on our experience in Bloom with supporting small businesses and then taking that to the retail space. And then with bringing Autumn in with her background and the economic development background as to what is needed in the city as far as growth. That's how we came up with the idea. I'm really excited about it. Bloom has space that just lends itself to a small retail pop-up that we're willing to use for this pilot program.
So when I came on staff, I was presented with this concept. I'm very excited to take this idea and support retail businesses in Portsmouth. So our goals and objectives for this space is to create opportunities for small businesses. We want to establish retail space where makers can display their products in store and online for purchase. We want to equip entrepreneurs with knowledge to sustain and grow a business. So we want to incorporate an educational component where these businesses can learn to scale their business and grow out of the space into storefront space or into big box stores and continue to grow. We want to diversify their business portfolios, expose participants to programs that can diversify their portfolio and create opportunities to access new markets. So together, Bloom and Portsmouth Economic Development will support this space. It will be located at 719 High Street, one of Bloom's co-working spaces. So they have an existing space that isn't being used. So the space will, the business owners will occupy 20 retailers that will go into this space and display their products. These are pictures of the space at 719 High Street. So it's a 1,200 square foot space. We're looking to have hundreds of products within these retailers that will apply for participation.
And you can see too, look back, sorry, that's all right, Tyler. And you can see, like, right now, we're using this space as a lobby, so behind this wall right here that has the Bloom, we actually have 20 offices. And so we have a lot of traffic that comes in here, but originally this was open co-working area while we were building out 739. So that's why the space is like this and empty. I mean, it does get a little bit of use, but not nearly the use that it could. And when you walk in, it really does scream retail. It lends itself really nicely to an open retail space. And then the offices are still private, so they can be shut off. And this space, again, being right at the storefront level at 719, it just would have a really nice presence to show off some of the retailers.
So our target audience are local Portsmouth makers. So we want this to be strictly Portsmouth-based businesses that put their products in the space. We want our consumer to be visitors of Portsmouth, tourists, and of course, residents of Portsmouth. The tenants will be startups and existing businesses, with 3 years or less of brick and mortar experience. The services will provide display of products, inventory management, training and accelerator programs, pop-ups and events, resources, mentorship, access to market space, and access to maker equipment.
And we did, real quick too, so, Portsmouth Partnership and Bloom launched something really similar to this. It was a startup stability program that was funded by Go Virginia. We launched it, June of 2021, through COVID to help startups reinvigorate after, like during COVID and after COVID. And so we had over 100 applicants. We put 83 of those businesses through a education program, and we accepted 40 of those businesses into co-working space. So we ran that program for a year, and so that's some of the ideas too taken out of that program through that Go Virginia funding, that we've come up with these types of rubrics and really, I guess, the mainstay of how to run the program. So we do have experience doing this in the past.
Yeah, and then we researched surrounding retailers and pop-ups. So Silver Market, the Mix, which is a recently opened pop-up shop. And then you being from DC, looked at several. I've had experience with pop-up shops in DC, Made in DC, Nubian Human. We researched those for the best concept to incorporate into this program.
So a couple of the criteria for being a participant in the program, is of course to be a Portsmouth-based retail business or vendor. Bloom businesses will receive preference. It will be an online rolling application. We will market through website and social media, to assure the best success of the program. Again, there will be 20 businesses selected, initially. The Portsmouth and Bloom co-working will work together to review applications. And of course, EDA will have input in this process. Bloom, is generous enough to provide a manager, who will oversee staff. So there will be 2 part-time employees that will rotate between shifts. Hours will be Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The participants will be in the space for 6 months. 6 months to 12 months, and at the 6-month mark, reapply, depending on how the inventory is moving. There will be a $50 a month fee for each participant. Required to enroll is participation in an educational program, to participate in small business counseling and training through the Small Business Development Center, and to have an active Portsmouth business license. Added benefits are marketing funding, so we will assist with website, business cards, branding for startups to get their business off the ground.
So again, just coming up with eligibility guidelines, how to pick the retailers that go in, there's specific guidelines that they need to adhere to make sure that they're gonna be successful as we enter into the selection process. Again, just different products, trying to run, have a large variety of products. So again, when people walk into the store, that there's a lot of different choices, things that we are not going to support. And I won't read it all because they're up there. And then just also a rubric or rating system to make sure that as we're evaluating the businesses, there's a clear guideline as to what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. And so we have, again, can give feedback to the businesses as what we're looking for so that they can move forward as to what we think will help them be successful, and then also how we're bringing trips in.
And then participants that don't qualify to go into the program initially, we will reroute them into educational programs that can get them to a point where they meet the standard for coming into the space, and we'll review the application after the 6-month period.
So this is the budget that we arranged based on our research. And so we would have 2 part-time employees for $56,500. For fixtures will be $12,000. PO system, $811. Furniture, $2,000, signage, $1,000, marketing, $10,000, security, $2,000, an educational program would be $9,900. So a total of $84,211. Bloom Co-working is contributing in-kind donation of $50,000, which will include $30,000 for a manager, and $20,000 for the use of this 400 square foot facility.
Do we just have you zoom in just a little bit on the presentation so we can read it? Almost, just a little bit further. We're having a hard time for the far end. I think that's better. Thank you. And so, what's being proposed is this is a pilot program. So there are some initial, costs, that we would assume, in that, first year, but then, obviously continuing costs if it was to extend beyond that. And that's primarily for the upfit of the space, furnishing some of the security requirements and so forth.
I think you guys have done a really wonderful detailed presentation. It's an excellent proof of concept. And I am hopeful that it will lend itself to either some bigger projects based on some winners that we identified there. And I'd like to thank Bloom for your support as well on this initiative.
Yeah, I'm excited about the concept.
Do you have, a number, like a limit to the number of vendors that you'll allow in there?
We've got 20 right now, but again, I think it depends on, if we get,
You have 20 already?
no, 20 is what we put in the proposal.
Oh, okay.
And then that's, again, the education piece, is a component of how many,
Mhm.
right? So right now, we've got accepting 20 for the first round,
Okay.
open for discussion on that. If we get loads of applications and have more than 20 qualified retailers, then I think that's open for discussion.
And I think that would be great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If we got 20 off for the first round, I think that would be fantastic.
Mhm.
People who are ready, who are already branded, who already have their marketing down, and then we're just adding to it. Like I said, that kind of the concept coming out of Bloom and the one, her company's authentic, it's Authentically Company. Go look her up. Her product's wonderful, but just to hear her story, really moved me on what we can do.
What is it? Her name?
Authentically Company is her name.
Authentically?
Authentically, yeah. So she sells candles, and so she makes them all, used to make them all in her house. Again, very successful. She's on Wayfair. She was shipping all across the country. She even makes for other products. So her product is then rebranded for other products. But she was missing that local connection. And when we opened Bloom, she again lives in Suffolk, but was born and raised in Portsmouth and was excited to bring her business back to Portsmouth. And that's the story we keep hearing about Bloom, is people that have moved out of Portsmouth and they're like, we want to give back. We want to have our business back in the town.
So initially I thought you said it had to be Portsmouth based,
They
but
do,
not
yes.
Portsmouth residents.
Portsmouth-based business.
Yeah.
Portsmouth based
Portsmouth
based
like,
business, okay.
So that's, again, the story of, okay, great, they're doing great online, they're working out of their house. How do you take that person who's already here in Portsmouth doing business and get them
To the next
out
level.
into the retail, out into retail to show that we've got great businesses in Portsmouth.
Yeah,
And people just don't realize they're
Yeah.
here.
well, we've had conversations with retailers that are selling out of their homes that love this concept, they would love to go into the
Yeah.
space and sell within Portsmouth.
But to do that, at this point, you're looking at a 5 to 10 year lease, right? So if you're selling out of your home and you're successful and you're doing great, to take that next leap to go to a 5 to 10 year full-on lease for retail space and then have more retail space than you may need, that's a big leap. So then when you run a program like this, that at least gives them time to prove their concept. Yes, I can handle some retail space. I can do online and retail, come out of my house and take that brick and mortar. So that's the hope, is this is the stepping stone, and then they go into that full brick and mortar.
Yeah, and it provides, inventory management, so they'll get the holistic view of how to run their business online and in retail. So the educational component, which is something really further.
Commissioner Brown.
In addition to the two part-time employees, the vendors required to have an employee or be there themselves as well.
No.
No.
So the space frees up their time. So the manager will, control the inventory, so they drop off, and receive payment, based on what is sold. So they're allowed to continue business as is. This is just an additional program that they're, involved in, so they can continue to vend, sell in other stores. This is just another opportunity for the businesses.
However, it would provide them an opportunity if there's a, pop-up event for the individual retailers, to be in that space. And they can certainly be in beyond that, but that's an opportunity to kind of showcase certain products.
Yeah, so we discussed having weekly pop-ups on the weekends and allowing maybe 4 participants to set up a table and promote their products and rotate every week, so everybody gets the opportunity to display their product.
So like a meet the maker type event weekly.
Commissioner Smith.
Okay, first of all, I am very excited about it. To me, it's almost, we had talked about having a maker's mart, and this is kind of the first step to that. And also the educational component, I really like that because there's so many businesses who think they're ready, and you have that component of if you apply and you're not ready yet, we'll work with you to help you get ready. And obviously, we have so many people who can't make the big step into going into an actual space. So I really think it's exciting. And also, you answered my question. I initially raised my hand for, would you have like weekend pop-ups, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we want to drive as much traffic to the space and give the participants as much display as possible. So weekly pop-ups would be ideal.
Okay, and then what, the marketing part of it, what do you say you're doing so that the citizens will all know that this is in here?
So the space will have a website,
Okay,
and we will be advertising on social media.
okay.
So that's what that marketing budget is the building out the website for the space. And then that way we can feature the products that are in there, the makers that are in there, and then of course driving social media and having a launch campaign.
Yeah, the desire is to have, tourism incorporated, so we want this to be a go-to space when tourists come to Portsmouth, and that be a location on High Street that they are redirected to, when they come to Portsmouth.
Okay.
Councilman Moody, did you have a question?
Yes, what's the other point of eligibility? I get the, I was thinking that you had to be a resident initially, but you just have to get a business license in Portsmouth, is that?
I want them to already be making their product in Portsmouth, not to just go and get a license and say that I'm a product of Portsmouth business. We want to see that they have a history of selling their products in Portsmouth along with a license.
Yeah, that would mean that they would already have, a business footprint in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Okay, and also there was some experience in brick and mortar. What would,
Just an experience selling your products in other retail stores. We want someone with some experience, and that's why if they're not at that point of having that experience, we want to provide them with the education to get them to that point.
To make sure they're packaged and branded and ready
okay,
versus, just selling online and selling their house to make sure that their branding and their package is ready for that next step. Because it's a different market when you're looking at a product versus ordering online. The package is a little different, the presentation is a little different. So, we want to make sure that they are ready for that so that they're successful. And if they're not, that's where that education component comes in to get them ready and then come into the space. That was the first 6 months, again, taking different, cohorts.
Yeah, and we've been in communication with 757 Collab that works with retailers that can get them ready to sell in a retail store, help them with their branding and packaging, and just give them that knowledge base for selling products.
right, and hours of operation?
So 10 to 7, like retail operation hours.
I applaud you. I think it's a great opportunity for, people to take their products on the test drive and see if they can move to bigger and better, things with it. So, great.
One last question.
Again, I also am very excited about this, and I really appreciate the amount of preparation that you all have done in terms of the presentation today. One thing I didn't hear was, do you have a timeline of how quickly you can get this up and running.
I was hoping for the holidays. I was told that I was not realistic, so. I mean, probably January, more realistically.
I mean, I would love to be open for the holidays, but since it's mid-October at this point, you know, we've got to open an application, we've got to set up a website, open up an application. We want the application process open long enough to then attract as many people as we can into the application process, then hiring 2 staff people. I'd love to think that as soon as we announced it, I would get all kinds of applications, but I've noticed the hiring process is not like that right now. So, yeah, I think a realistic goal would be more, you know, early winter, like January timeframe. And then kind of a big spring push for sales and things like that, so.
You know, when we would see some, actual drawings of what the, area would look like?
I mean, we can work on that. Yeah,
Yeah, Michelle's already working with the architect, so.
got Total Business Solutions. It's a local, Portsmouth company, who we've been working with for renderings of it, just trying to, you know, it's, you know, what type the first round is, you know, it's looking at just different racking and different merchandising, equipment, but yeah, we definitely get a rendering. The first picture, kind of the thought we had, all right, now.
Here's all the way back here.
To it. One more is
The first
it was the first one. The maiden, yeah, so that, I mean, obviously the space doesn't look quite like that, but we are thinking those open shelves. Because they're things that are real versatile, because again, if we're gonna take rounds and we're gonna have first 20 companies, we can't have all of the fixtures be around just those companies, so it needs to be versatile so that they can sell different products. And then when we toured the MIC too, again, just different racks for clothing. I know there's actually one clothing vendor in Portsmouth that's looking for retail space, so we're hoping to get some clothing and different ways to display merchandise and different types of merchandise.
Just a follow-up, this is the all. What do we need to do now in order to get this, move forward?
Thank you for asking that question. So, obviously there was a need for funding support for the pilot program. You know, the situation that we have, the potential partnership with Bloom is, you know, there are some in-kind, financial, contributions that Bloom would be making, and, you know, the large one is the space. So Bloom has, that space under lease, and then obviously Bloom would be assisting in kind of managing this whole operation, but there is a need for financial support. I believe the preliminary budget we had was about $85,000. And that included both the upfit furnishings, some of the improvements to the space to make it so it could accommodate a retail establishment, and then also, you know, staffing of the space. And that's for the entire year. And then, you know, based on the performance and success of the program, we come back to evaluate. So some of those costs, again, are, you know, just for the upfit, but then also operations. So we would be asking, you know, for the EDA support of that portion of the program cost.
Do we need to revise the budget to include this as a line item?
You do have a line item in your budget, which includes economic development grants. You had appropriated $800,000 in this fiscal year. So I believe that that is the appropriate line item that we would utilize.
Yeah, that was exactly what we were thinking about when we
Exactly.
put that line in there.
So I think we would probably just need a resolution to appropriate the funds within that line.
Yes. So move.
Okay.
Okay, so we had a motion by Mr. Barber and a second by Commissioner Saunders Smith. Is there any discussion prior to moving forward with the vote? Hearing none. Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yeah.
Ms. Finn.
Yes. Morning.
Thank you, Chair. The item is approved by a vote of 6-0. And I would like to just say thank you for your support, Michelle, before you head out.
I was
Thank you
gonna
for
say,
your
sorry.
Partnership.
Yeah, thank you.
This is,
need to run off. I can
I know you've got some place to be, but this is really a result of, what you've done so far today supporting small businesses. This has grown from that as we've been engaged with these, folks working out of their homes that need a physical brick and mortar to grow. This is directly tied to that. So thank you for helping to see it through and see it.
I think it's exciting.
Yeah, no, thank y'all for the support. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Very
you.
excited.
A little shop there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Pope is here for the financials, but we're gonna move them to after the, downtown waterfront development.
Okay, the next item is an update on your FY 24 Business Investment Grant Program. Just wanted to recap of where we are to date. So round one of the program closed at the end of July. We funded 20 applicants through the first round. We are now in the second round of the program, which will run through October 31st. We've had a very sizable number of applicants come in for all three programs, and we are currently in the process of reviewing those. We did have a new grant award ceremony, which we
Sorry.
implemented back in September. So you can see here, we had 15 businesses that came in for that. Chair Mitchell and Vice Chair Barber were present. I would welcome all EDA members to attend when those are announced. But we had a really fantastic turnout and a really good exchange of some stories and information on the businesses and the business owners and their backgrounds. But just wanted to share that with you. There were photos there of the check presentation, which I think was really well received and appreciated by the business owners. We've also promoted this on social media to help get the word out about the programs and also about our businesses here in Portsmouth as well.
I'd just like to make an editorial comment. I thought this was gonna be a little sterile, kind of thing, go in and take pictures and, it wasn't. It really blew me away. The stories of the ladies that had their businesses and how they came about. And each of the businesses had what I call a social contract component to their business of how they give back to the community. It was very inspirational for me. And I would encourage you all to like that. And I think, they were very diverse businesses, things that you normally wouldn't, think of. One was behavioral health for suicide prevention, opioid addiction. One was training of young realtor agents, and one was basically a educational component for sewing, teaching sewing to the young folks. But the connections that they made themselves, their interchange was wonderful, and the connections that we have been able to gain into the community and with other business opportunities was just a very important element as well. It was just impressive all the way around.
I would agree with that. The other thing that I heard consistently was that Portsmouth is a city that cares about small businesses. And that was echoed by just about everyone. They tried to get their license. When they spoke to people, they genuinely cared about their success. I think that's a big plus for us.
Well, thank you, Chairman Mitchell and Vice Chair Barber for your comments. I totally agree with your sentiments there. On the note of supporting small businesses, I think we've got two grants for your consideration this morning under the Real Property Investment Grant Program. The application packages were provided to you in the meeting package that went out on Friday, but I will recap very quickly both of those. The first is Zway 2 LLC. It's the property owner for 2850 Airline Boulevard. They are proposing to replace a roof to secure a commercial space for a future tenant. So again, working on preparing the space for marketing purposes. The former tenant was Total Car Care. It's the space on the right. The entrance on the left is a new tenant that recently moved in, and that is Black Sheep Airsoft, which has been there now for a few months. So it's the space on the right is what is being proposed. If we can just go back one slide, you can see there the total project cost is just shy of $31,000. So they're asking for 50% of that cost to be funded through the program. So $15,450 based on the quote they have provided. This is part of a number of applications we've received from different groups currently working on the Victory West Shopping Center to bring in some new tenants to that space. So this is the first application. The second is 2860 Airline Boulevard. I'm not sure if you can make out the green pinpoint there, but it is a former lender that closed. It's been a vacant space now for a few years. And the applicant, Victory West Thrill Park, is the owner of the shopping center. They have a tenant, which is a Chingon Mexican restaurant. El Chingon just received a use permit at the last city council meeting to have some live entertainment there at that venue. They have leased the space, and they are proposing to use the grant for roof replacement at this property as well. They're older buildings, and then also providing for some exterior landscaping for the tenant to make somewhat of a kind of Southwest theme. The total cost is $37,365.35. They're asking for half of that, $18,682 to be funded through the program. So here's the credit lender that was formerly in the space. This will be a new restaurant. They're very excited. They had a prior location, I believe, in Norfolk, and they've been looking to relocate within the region. Initially looking elsewhere, but they landed in Portsmouth, and they were very excited to be here. I think some of the activity occurring near the casino has led them to look at this location. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I do believe we need to adopt a resolution if you choose to fund these. I think we would need to do that individually. We do it together.
Depends if there's any objection. If there's no objection to either one, then we can do them together.
I'm
No
gonna
objection
we
from
want
us.
both.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was by Smith and the second by Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Okay. The roll, Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Saunders Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
and Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 6-0. Thank you for that. We now have an EDA property update. Just want to run through the list of your property inventory quickly, just to give you an update on where we stand. We did close on 1609 High Street on October 6th, so just a couple weeks ago. And are going to be working to consolidate that property with an adjacent city-owned parcel for the market. So we will be working with Harvey Lindsay to get that site ready to put it on the market here very quickly. 1028 High Street, this is the Holmes property in the Innovation District. We are still working through the title issues there to to bring that to closing. I believe we have a means of doing that now. It's just a matter of time, so we're working through that. So hope to be back before you here in the next few months with an update on closing for that property. 42 Afton Parkway, that is the former Afton Theater in Craddock. We have a contract now that has been executed, and we're just again working through some of the title issues there to bring that to a close as well. Moving on to some dispositions of real estate, 710 Lincoln Street. This is the property that is under contract with Big Homies for a youth rec center that is in the design and development stages with our planning and engineering department. So as soon as they receive their plan approval, we will move towards a closing. We are in a similar state with 1100 High Street. That's the Wood Cooper property that will be a new 50-unit multifamily project in Ocean District. Again, working through their financing and design process. 219 Pavilion Drive, that's adjacent to the new Frito-Lay distribution facility. We are just awaiting the closing date from the purchaser there, which is the owner of that property next door. 3315 Airline Boulevard. This property is also under contract. We're just waiting for the title work to be completed so we can close on that. 1021 1107 High Street. This is the property that is under contract with Mr. Keels for the 52-unit townhome development. Again, they're in the design and development stage where they've got some comments back from city staff. So working through resubmittals and getting their approvals. That contract does run until mid-January. So we'll be back before you prior to then with an update on the status and potential closing. 73 Farragut Street. This is a property that we acquired last fall. We were working on the demolition of that building as we speak, and I'm awaiting some utility cutoffs and the issuance of a demolition permit for that. So we're getting close to being able to take that property down. And then finally, 2525 2631 Turnpike Road. We are awaiting the contract to be executed for that. It has been approved previously. However, we're working through some title issues that were the former VDOT acquisition that got transferred to the city. So just kind of working through our process of getting that ready for disposition. Are there any questions on any of these? I know the list is getting shorter. That's our goal is to shorten that list of disposition properties, but also lengthen the acquisitions as well.
No questions.
Okay, wanted to also provide a brief update on the status of the downtown waterfront development initiative. As we had previously met in September, and we briefed City Council as well. We are in the process of performing a market study and development assessment for the city's waterfront, and primarily that's the Crawford Bay site, the location of the former Holiday Inn. That study is now underway. That kicked off following your authorization in September. And we are currently working with AECOM, the consultant that we have on board, on gathering information and data as it relates to the property, and are also beginning the early stages of the stakeholder engagement process, which is that first task. So with that, we will be working with key partners and organizations in the city to have some dialogue about the property, some of the vision and desires for that site. And in that will include the EDA. Following that, we will really kind of get more into the development of the study itself. We are looking at your November 21st meeting to have the consultant come in. I think we'd like to block Majority of that meeting, that agenda for some dialogue and engagement on the project to get some feedback and input from the board. So we're working to get them in here and get that scheduled, but I would expect that spring in November. We're also looking at the same engagement with our city council. So we'll be working to coordinate that as well, and then also keep, partners that need to be engaged in the process. Again, this is a research got a project at this point. As it evolved, it will become a little bit more of a full-blown development of a study and ultimately the opportunity for a package for a request for proposals or interest solicitation. So just want to kind of let you know where we are. So we're right on schedule with the first task. Are there any questions?
Yeah, is our next meeting is that the week of Thanksgiving?
The 21st is.
You may be correct.
21st?
Mm-hmm.
Any of y'all have conflicts that week? I may have.
If necessary, we can look to move that date. It would be, yeah, so it would conflict with Thanksgiving that week. If anybody had any prior engagements or.
I don't.
I'm okay.
Well, if that changes, let me know as soon as you can. I know sometimes these things are not known at the moment. So if we need to look at an alternative date, we can certainly do that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, why don't we do the financials, Ms. Pope?
We presenting the first.
Okay, I just want to make sure we have enough time. Financials. Ms. Salee, can you just increase the size of that just a little bit so we can follow? Thank you. Ms. Pope, floor is yours.
Okay. I will be presenting the first quarter for FY 24 ending September 30th, 2023. We had 8.3 million in cash in the bank. We had receivables at 1.8 million. We have our land at 1.2 million and our security deposit at 4,000 and our property held for sale for 13 million, giving us a total net assets of 24.4 million. We have liabilities of 544,000, giving us a net position of 22.1 million with an overall increase of $35,000 for the quarter. For a statement of revenues and expenses, so far we have brought in a total of 59,000 in operating revenues. We've spent 17,000, paid out 28,000 in grants. We've received interest income of 52,000, and the same revenue that we get from the hotel we transfer back to the city, and that is 31,000. And the net position matches the first statement at 22 million, and again, the overall increase of 35,000 for the quarter. This sheet is just the land held for sale inventories, which matches the balance sheet for 13 million. This right here is our year-to-date budget performance report, which shows the revised budget, what we have spent and what we have left available. Page 5 represents the amount of remaining grants from prior years. That number is 173,654, and those are prior year grants. They have not been paid out yet. Then the last page represents the FY 24 grant, and so far 28,000 has been paid out. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
No question? Closed session.
Move to go close, meeting pursuant to code sections 2.2 3711 dot 3 for purposes of discussing disposition of real property where the discussion in an open meeting would be adversely affecting the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding 301 Columbia Street, 3336 Victory Boulevard, and 1117 High Street.
Okay. Oh, you second.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Francis. No discussion, Mr. Barber, Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Here, the item is adopted by a vote of 6-0. We are now in a closed meeting.
I hereby move that each commissioner certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act, and only such businesses matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Second.
Dr. Smith, Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Dr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 6-0. We are now in open meeting.
The item submitted by board members.
I have an item I talked to Brian about a couple months ago about the EDA possibly doing like a business appreciation day, hosting a business appreciation day, and the main focus of it being a golf tournament. I know we just had the Vita golf tournament for the state, but something where we can invite like Portsmouth businesses out to like Battery or just for a day of networking and business appreciation. Give small prizes or something to them, and something that's something that EDA will support for like next year. Just an idea we kick around, but
I think one of the challenges that we had is that Brian didn't have staff.
Mhm.
So if there's a way on any of these suggestions that we can fulfill some of that,
Mhm.
And then that probably would make it doable. But I think.
well, my company is an event planning company, and I would be willing to do the logistic part of it, in for the EDA, just to, all the logistics of setting it up, marketing it, and putting it out to the community if it's something that we're going to get behind and support.
You gonna do it for free?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's small.
May is Virginia Business Appreciation Month, I believe, so that if we were going to plan it, it would probably be good to do it in conjunction with that statewide effort.
And you would need time to plan, and May, I would think would be good outdoor weather month.
Well, if I can suggest, I like your idea. We will be having our annual business appreciation reception that we do every December. So we're still working on the date for that. We would obviously like your support and assistance with that. But then also looking periodically throughout the year for other opportunities. I think this is something where we could kind of utilize it as a networking event, but also, showing our appreciation for the business community. So maybe we can collaborate on some times of the year, dates, and maybe the theme of what that would be, whether it's a golf tournament or just a reception or something like that.
Yeah, I like it. I just think we need to just take some time and just throw a bunch of things out there, see which ones we want to do, but I think we're headed in the right direction. I also think we ought to figure out a way, how do we increase sales for businesses on High Street? Is there an activity that we can do?
Yeah.
That will bring people in, they will go to the restaurants, the retail places, et cetera. One of the things that, I'll just throw out this suggestion as well, was that, having a closed down High Street and having a fashion show. I saw that done in Harlem. It was just fantastic, so you close down one street, you have a fashion show, maybe you have some activities for the kids, a little bit of music, but people will come to the fashion show, but they will also eat at the restaurants. And so maybe it's like a Portsmouth Day of celebration or something like that. It covers two things. It gets people to, go to some of our establishments, but it also is a positive avenue or venue for something in Portsmouth. So I think there's a lot of good ideas that we can do to further businesses, Portsmouth.
And it might be a short turnaround with small business. Saturday is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So some type of promotion would be good.
I guess my thing is, I hate to beat a dead horse and with marketing, but I'm really back on this electronic signage. As we talked about this probably a year ago, and we knew it was a marketing department, but what can we do to help them to get it going? Especially you see here talking about Bloom Center and the businesses. When people get off the ferry and they just don't know where things are, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't do something about that. And we talked about it, but we didn't really, we said we would try to partner with marketing, or I think they were the responsible party, but maybe we can kind of see what's going on with that.
What's your concept of that? Like when you get off the ferry, you would like the people to just see like a digital board that's like you are here, you can go here. What?
Yeah,
What's your concept?
this is here, this restaurant here.
So
It
they
could
got that
go
on a lot of college campuses, like digital signage.
Yeah, a lot of cities have
They
it.
have in Pittsburgh.
A lot of
they have
cities
a
have it.
restaurant, show your restaurant,
Would be a
show
great
your
idea.
menu.
That's something I've seen recently in my travels. I guess it's a little less, intense in terms of investment in the actual infrastructure, but it's a QR code that's scannable, and then it takes you to an app or website where you can search what's in the area. So they have those QR codes throughout downtown areas, and you can just scan it, and based on your location, you can see what's nearby. I don't have any specific follow-ups to your question about the status of electronic signage, but I will share the city's marketing department is currently in the process of doing a Portsmouth rebrand. And as part of that, they're looking at signage, wayfinding, those types of things. Just as their overall marketing rebrand efforts for the city overall.
You mean like an electronic, like billboard, where you can just, something like that, or?
Well, it's not a billboard, but the ones that's like, it's freestanding.
Oh, okay,
Kiosks.
okay.
Yeah.
Electronic kiosk,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can also pair it with your phone and, details on each individual.
And some people use it for like even advertising, like, let's just say if there's a health fair going on in a part of the city, they kind of use it in a lot of ways.
I know there was money set aside for the High Street corridor.
Mhm.
Does anyone have any idea what that will involve? Would that be funding for something like that?
So the $20 million is mainly for infrastructure. So road, building that median down the middle of the street. So, I don't know the full budget, but that's the main purpose of it. But that would be a city engineer question.
be possible to get them to come to one of our meetings and the marketing folks and just sort of give us an idea what they got in mind?
Yeah, we certainly could. In fact, you may have received this. They've recently launched a, citywide survey.
That's cool.
About your, experience in Portsmouth and your desires. So I'm not sure if that would be something they could do prior to receiving that or not, but, I can certainly reach out to you on the timing.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Then we can give them our ideas.
Yeah.
Push them.
And some of that may not fall necessarily under marketing. We have a tourism division and Parks and Rec, so there's.
The tourism would probably be,
And we've had him recently. Keith Toller came in before you to talk about some of their efforts and what they're working on, that bring events downtown,
yeah,
promote in Portsmouth overall.
or they could keep it in
The state office got a lot of tourism grants too. Special event tourism grants, the state, is making available for localities, so it's something we ought to look into.
The other option is DHCD's, downtown, they've got a downtown, small grant, there that might be, different item.
Any other additional items? We'll go to report backs.
And we actually have, going through my notes from last month, I don't have any report back for today. I think we covered most everything in the main agenda for the meeting.
Yes. There are no further questions. This meeting is adjourned.